Okay, let's call the meeting back to order. We're on to 9.2, Financial Information Services, Amendment to Policy P25 Tax Exemptions.
All right, good morning again, on the topic of policy amendments, this one is Policy P25, the low-income tax exemptions. This is the annual update to the policy to adjust the thresholds by the benchmarks. A couple years ago, we amended the benchmarks to align a little better with what they're intended to match. So annually, the income levels below which an exemption for taxation is granted will be adjusted by either the seasonally adjusted year-over-year percentage change in annual weekly earnings for Nova Scotia, or to the extent that Council considers appropriate. And the scale of exemption amounts granted will be adjusted by either the annual increase in the combined change in the PVSC cap rate and the change in the residential tax bill and general tax rate for waste collection and disposal area rate, or to the extent the Council deems appropriate. So this year, the average change in weekly earnings for Nova Scotia was a 4.7% increase over the same measure of 2022. And the exemption amount, we're proposing a 1.93% increase, and that's a combination of the reduction in the general tax rate and the 3.2% cap. So if you combine those two together, you get a 1.93% increase in the exemption amount. The budget for this year has remained flat with the previous year. It may or may not be sufficient to cover everything. It will be close either way. You never know until we actually get all the applications. I've included breakdowns, as with previous years, of the last 5 years of exemptions provided, as well as the most recent year, the 23-24 fiscal year, a breakdown of which income categories or which ranges people were in and how many and what the extent of that was on the top of page 3. And so what we're recommending here today is to increase the income thresholds by 4.7% and to increase the maximum exemption amounts by 1.93%.
Is anybody prepared to move that?
I'll move that motion.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, so we're on to 9.5, Financial Information Services.
Nope, it's a very similar topic, but this one's a little more specific. This is a follow-up to
yes.
when Gail Smith came in to speak to Council back in, when was that originally? Last year sometime.
Yeah, it was a while.
And at the time, we received advice that we did not believe that we had the legal authority to grant such a reduction in taxes. Subsequent to that previous presentation, the municipality and Ms. Smith received a letter from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, which indicated that the province was of the opinion that in this particular case we do have the authority to grant such a reduction in taxes. And so in May, Council asked me to come back with a report showing the extent of what that would look like.
But it really is a correction of an error as opposed to a reduction of taxes.
It's a reduction of taxes to correct an error, yes.
Yes, I think that is important to add that.
Right, yeah, it's to adjust for an error that PBSC has acknowledged that they made in the categorization of some sort when they were doing the
Just clarify that we're not reducing taxes or something.
Right, we're correcting an error that PBSC has acknowledged and that the Minister has indicated specifically we do have the authority in this case. It is not just a normal error as in we've assessed it too high and we're revising our opinion. There were other factors at play there.
Tina.
Yes, as part of I recall the discussion, as part of the discussion at that time, I did ask that when the report came back, that we also have attached to the report, the recommendation, a copy of the letter.
Right, I don't believe that would be appropriate to share in a public's agenda. We can distribute that letter to Council, or we can present it in camera because it is a direct communication to a resident with their own information.
Okay, so you could redact. You could redact
Yep, possibly.
personal information, but as part of our public package.
Okay.
Right? No, I'm not demanding
I'm sorry,
that. Stipulating that, I'm just asking that.
Letter that went to Gail from the province.
From the province?
Yeah, the letter from the Minister.
Well,
We have a copy.
No, I don't have a copy.
But a copy was sent to you.
Yes, we received a copy.
Yeah.
It wasn't included in today's agenda. I apologize for missing it out.
We had it previously.
Yeah.
I guess were we authorized to distribute it to the public? Probably not.
Probably not.
We'd have to have.
With the redacted information.
No, it was a direct communication third party, so we were just copied on it. So I would go to probably municipal affairs first
Sure.
to make sure that we're able.
Sure, I'd like to see a copy then, in camera possibly, but
We've already had it.
Well, I guess
I'm sorry,
the
I'm not seeing the letter.
premise behind, I think what Tina's saying here is that the whole idea behind this correction and our authority comes from this loud letter, but we can't put it in the public record. So if some future person that wants to know why we did this, we can't explain it other than saying that we saw a letter, but we don't have, nobody can see the letter. I can understand why she would want that in the record.
But have we not seen the letter?
Well, we've seen it, but it's not in the record.
No, it's not, but I mean, we get letters from Sam that, to give us legal advice that aren't public, when we still use them to help us make our decisions. I mean,
Well, it says clearly here in the package that showing the impact of adjusting the LSMIS product to correct an error by PVSV.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, yes, I agree. Yeah, sure.
We can't make the letter public is what I'm understanding.
So again, I guess I apologize, I don't remember seeing it in black and white, in a letter in front of me. I don't remember that. I remember the reference, and my memory's pretty good. I remember the reference, so maybe I missed a council meeting or an in-camera session.
You didn't miss anything.
No, I don't, yeah.
You didn't miss anything.
No, I don't think I did. So I remember the reference, I don't remember seeing it. So can we bring that? I'm okay with this, but I just want my own peace of mind to see.
You want to see the letter?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You don't see a problem with that?
Thank you.
No, as long as it's kept in camera.
Absolutely. Anything in camera is kept in camera.
Yeah, okay.
Good point.
Okay, so continue on.
Okay, so in preparing the valuation of whatever adjustment this might be, I looked at the final tax bill for the 2021 year, which is the year under question. There were 4 items on that bill, including the general residential rate, the waste collection and disposal rate, the village commission residential rate, and the sewer connection rate. So under the understanding that the village commission rate is not one that we have the authority to set or revise, we have remitted all that funds to the village already. And given the fact that the sewer connection is a flat rate, therefore not adjusted by, those two have been excluded from these calculations. It is just the general residential rate as well as the solid waste collection and disposal rate have been calculated.
Yeah.
In 2021, the property was assessed at $820,000. That was revised in 2022 down to $282,900, and it has remained at that exact valuation by PVSC for the 2 years since then, 2023 and 2024. So I think you might have the older version of this report in your documents. So there's a slight update to the interest charges as we've passed a monthly deadline, but I can give the revised numbers here. The current balance due, including interest, as things stand now, is $15,498.58. If we were to adjust and revise interest and all that stuff backdated to 2021, the amount due, including interest, would be $9,761.47. So that would be an amount, the difference is $5,737. The difference is pardon me, I was reading the amounts that you have in front of you. The revised numbers are slightly larger than that. The actual adjustment would be $5,775.77 if this were approved.
So that's what we need a motion to approve.
Yes, and
Question,
now,
can you put that back down on the screen? Are we still charging her the whole, the penalties?
the penalty's on the adjusted amount.
Should we be charging penalties? But she hasn't paid it, that's why we're charging.
Right, yeah, unpaid amounts would have interest applied to them. So we would be adjusting the penalties based on,
But she's still paying a penalty. So you're suggesting she should have paid the wrong amount and waited for a rebate?
Yes, that is the standard practice for people who are,
If they get a lot of money,
yes,
something to put out.
yeah, and that's on the back of every tax bill, is that even if you are appealing this, we expect that you would pay it in full, and if you are successful in your appeal, you will be reimbursed. Penalties will still be accrued on unpaid amounts.
So this is consistent with that.
Yes, I think, I'll move that we approve it for the amount that you stated.
Second,
Second.
discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. These will be resolved.
Thanks, Simon.
Thanks.
A lot of humanity here today, a lot of humanity.
Okay, 9.6, community will.
All right.
There's the man coming right up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Right.
Well, essentially, we were able to test 3 wells for 3 districts so far. 2 came back very good, and 1 not so much. The Grace Anglican Church in District 4 came back pretty good, and we feel that's something that we can bring it up to speed with the Canadian Drinking Water Standards and have that for community well. The East Chester one came up even better, so we're, based on your approval, we're ready to go on both. Unfortunately, New Ross, the first one we tried, needs quite a bit of work, right? And we don't even know the well can sustain that for reverse osmosis, so we're not recommending that. But if other options come up in New Ross, we're open for sure.
I know that there's a discussion going.
Yeah, we've been talking about a potential development there. And there's been some back and forth with other community groups, so I think we could potentially hit all 7 by the end of summer, so.
So we need a motion to approve moving forward with the 2?
Before we do that, the 2,
Yeah.
So, I would ask that we just simply, as part of this discussion, remove motion 3. We remove motion 3. So we're not moving ahead, I get that, but further discussion to take place in the community, of course. I mean, it has to make sense. I'm not saying it's gonna happen,
Yeah,
it
that
doesn't make
one's
sense.
4, but yeah,
So
somewhere
just,
else, sure.
Yeah, just
That's
remove
just
that.
further discussion.
Yeah.
Just approving the 2 and
The
remove
2,
not.
1 and 2, yeah.
Somebody want to move that?
I'll move that.
Discussion. All those in favor?
I just want to say-
Sorry.
So I just want to say, thanks for all your work, Fred. I know that the organization in Washington Shore you've been working with, the Dock Association.
Yeah, and I get
And
some
they're
back to the
all-
fire departments as well,
Yeah.
potentially, so there's.
So there's 2 potentials here.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
our fingers crossed. Yeah.
Andre?
So just for clarity's sake, so moving forward would be to put like an outside, install an outside access and then,
Yeah, the necessary internal plumbing, good access outside, there may be some minor parking lot things, proper signage of course, and we've talked to Jen for our website and advised people downstairs during the program. And we have double check valves too.
that's what I was
So
gonna
there's
ask.
no one can contaminate it, and then if they got a function where they want to make sure they have lots of water, they can just shut it off, put off the notice.
Now, one of the concerns I think raised by one community center was that a member of the public leaving it on,
Yeah.
and leaving it, would have fail safe in place for that.
Yeah, Larry, he used to work at the town of Bridgeway, had a good idea. They have one where it's push activated, and it only does so much. So you gotta push it again, so that'll get rid of that.
That's
what we
a
wanna
great
try.
idea.
Yeah, and there'll be lots of learning curves, of course, but we have 2 good leads right now and want to go for it.
That's good.
Okay.
Water security.
Yes.
So they must have a drill well in East Chester Rec Center, is it a drill well?
They've been dug well.
And
Just
then,
asking, be a good
it
one.
must be a good one.
Yeah, well, they've got a UV system on it.
Yeah.
So it goes through there and nukes it and then it.
Yeah, and we do the ongoing testing as required for Department of Environment there. Yeah.
I know, just talking, say with Canaan Community Center,
Yeah.
they are interested, but they were just concerned because they have a dug well and just the, volume, and they were concerned they might run out of water.
ECRA had wall problems a couple of years ago because they sort of like this association sort of was a little more defunct and inactive, and they got that all remedied now. And it's
Oh, good.
So Franklin, just to Sharon's point, so the gallonage per minute, does it have any bearing on the locale? Like, let's face Canaan's not in Chester or in Washington Shore. Does it have to meet a certain criteria even though the population is smaller, or?
Yeah, we look at Canadian drinking water regulations, and we can meet that.
It's, okay.
Yeah.
Regardless, okay.
And then, a lot of them don't have the well log information, so we're very much monitoring, right? If it seems like it's a problem for them to do that, well, then we have to look at the next step.
They have a UV system on their well. That was put on in Cape, but they're just concerned with the volume. I don't think
That's right.
they don't have the well, I guess like East Chester, sometimes it's a spring-fed well. It's
Yeah, they said they could help where they can, but, it's remote, and there's not a lot of recorded wells going dry out there, so there's a bit of, shuffle with that.
I would think a small amount of domestic use wouldn't really dry up a well.
No, they're just looking for drinking water, they're not looking to fill back.
Yeah.
Seems like maybe our fears could be allayed with a little more discussion.
Yeah, maybe.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carried.
Thanks, Fred. Water security, I like that. That's
Okay.
So part of food security.
What's that?
It's food security, yeah, so this was just the correspondence.
Food and water security.
It's food.
Water's important.
Okay, 10.1 is correspondence, May 21st, Remo, advisory response to the operating questions.
Very cool.
We kind of talked about it, now what? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can skip this one. Where's the last paper?
So I think I'm on to 10.2 people.
Just a second.
Minister Lord, 12-month notice, that things are going to change.
Yeah, so this is just the standard 12-month notice letter that DNOAH provides to us when they're looking at potential regulatory or legislative changes that could have an impact on us. So there's a couple of items in there that you might want to pay attention to. One of them is that the library funding, the Libraries Act funding regulations are under review. Potential changes to that. In particular, it notes that Halifax Regional Municipality contributes, the province contributes 71% for libraries outside of HRM, and municipalities contribute 26% in HRM. That's the exact reverse. So they don't tell us what they're thinking, whether they're thinking of bringing HRM down or us up, or some combination of that, but that is one of the items in there. The procurement thresholds, again, you just went through the procurement policy, so there's procurement policy or threshold changes that they're looking at. Department of Justice, they're going through RCMP contract negotiations again right now. Department of Labor and Skilled Immigration, firefighter compensation regulations, they're looking at changes to that. And the WCB claims that are eligible. Municipal Affairs and Housing, they're looking at reviewing their statements of provincial interest on housing and their statement of interest regarding infrastructure. They haven't been reviewed since they were first adopted in 1999, so they're looking at updating those. So there's potential changes coming there. And then the Department of Emergency Management, so that's that creation of that new Department of Emergency Management and the establishment of the Nova Scotia Guard. So they've outlined some regulatory changes that they're looking at doing, and they're consulting on some of that right now with various groups. Excuse me, those are changes respecting regional emergency management offices, the relationship between municipalities and regional emergency management offices, the provision of fire dispatch services through regional emergency management offices, vulnerable persons registries, and implementing those, and a regional emergency alert system and participation in the system. I can't tell you more of what those mean and what all of that means and how they're defining what a regional emergency management office is, because they haven't come out and told us that yet. And then the last one is the Department of Economic Development. So the one to probably pay attention there is the RENS. And so I don't have a lot of information around it, but it does look like they're looking at the complete geographical coverage for RENS. So what that would mean for us would mean potentially bringing back a RED or some model thereof. So there we go.
Well, they're just giving us notice that it may cost us money or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's all you can say.
I just want to comment, not on the rent, but on the library funding. I missed the annual meeting of the social libraries last evening. So I may bring forward some information as to what we may be gleaning. I'm not sure that. We do have one of our board members who is a participant and signed up for that committee that is doing the review.
Okay, so they may
And
have
I
some.
did touch on it previous, I think, in one of my library committee reports, but we're certainly staying linked into that because obviously all 5 municipal units are on the library board and we're all, on the edge of our seats just wondering how that's going to impact us financially as municipal units. So, thank you.
Okay, so we're on to 10.3, correspondence, Warden Penny Smith, expanding qualifying expenditures for Canada Community Building Fund.
So this is just a letter that came
Just
from
yeah.
Shelburne, the municipality of Shelburne, requesting expansion of infrastructure funding.
Why wouldn't you ask for more?
Certainly, depending on what we're doing with our municipal building decisions, that grabbed my attention, right? So the municipal building piece. So, yeah, to allow us to if we were able to put some money into that.
Okay, so basically information for us at the moment.
Information.
Yeah. Okay, new business. RFP prepared community development recreation appointment of building official.
This is good news.
Good news.
Yeah, good.
Bring a little good news once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah, so a few weeks ago, actually, I was here with a similar matter. We had, you had appointed our other building official trainee, Jeffrey Langell, and so now our second trainee, Jared Stevens, has now been successful in achieving his next step, which is, of course, the residential qualification. So we kind of outline now what under that qualification, what they're able to inspect. And so we're in a position now because he's achieved that and we've received the letter of certification that we're now required to have him appointed by council so that they can actually officially move forward with the building official duties as outlined. So unless there's any questions?
Question on option 2.
Sure.
Do another
We missed a name change.
Sorry about that. My apologies.
Okay, so that's
an
why I'm confused.
That is an
Yeah.
error. Yes, that was an error. There was a little bit of copying and pasting because this
No.
you
I just,
yeah,
I do read this stuff.
good. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so somebody prepared to move the appointment?
I'll recommend that we appoint Jared Stevens to the building
Yes.
official.
I have a question.
We should have a seconder first.
Okay, go ahead.
I have a question about, well, I'll give preamble. In our company, in my private work, when, for example, we have an engineering training and they become a PN or somebody moves to a different level of accreditation, usually it comes with an improvement in their compensation. Do we have such things here to sort of encourage those to continue on to level 1, level 2?
Yeah, so you'll notice in the financial section, I mentioned that Jared will move in our municipal salary scale. So the building official trainee is at one level, and then once they advance and get their qualifications, then that moves them into the building official category, which is level 5.
Which is a tiered level as well. So there's
Yes.
a level within the building, the level for building officials. it's a tiered level, so we did that as part of the salary review, we did that. So you can only get so far in that level with your level 1 qualification, and then if you get your level 2, you're able to get to the
Because
full.
that's what we want and need.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So would Jared like to go to level 2?
Jared would like to go to level 2.
He will advance to the level where the building official, now that he's an official.
Good.
Just a question, that a lot of people have commented on this one. I know he's not a carpenter by trade, and a comment from people in the industry say that we have a building official that doesn't, have the experience in the trade, but I'm sure the training does include things like that.
And Jared, he does, not in a formal manner, but in an informal, he absolutely does. But yeah, for a building official, you do not need to have experience. Like, you do not have to be a contractor, a home builder, or a welder, or you do not need to have, technically, you do not need any of that experience. If you go through the training and the education piece, then you are able to acquire those qualifications without.
It may help though.
So absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Sometimes I hear this commentary as well. Sometimes contractors, in the old days, I think there was a lot more leeway where, maybe you weren't quite in accordance with the code, but you did some other alternative thing, and it was sort of looked like it would probably be okay. And building officials in those days said, yeah, I've seen that done lots of times back when I used to swing a hammer, and that's pretty good. But I think in modern times, we've sort of moved away from such sort of alternate compliance because it leaves municipalities vulnerable to legal action should those those things don't work out. And so, really, and nowadays, I think just a very solid knowledge of the code is all that's required. And if contractors are seeking out alternate compliance, then they have to find some design professional that can provide them the backup.
Yeah. The other benefit that we have right now, where we have increased our capacity on the building official side of things, is that they work very much hand in hand. So if they're dealing with a situation, they consult with each other. So Brent has a lot of experience. We have Jim there on a part-time basis, and he has a plumbing background. So if there's a job that's coming up that has a substantial plumbing element, we'll bring him in or use him as a resource. And so that kind of mixture is working really well. So it's things have been operationally been going very well.
They definitely don't do interpretation in isolation
No.
of themselves.
That's great. Assuming we have lots of building officials, we might be able to even offer a regional service.
Yeah.
Far cry from 2 years ago, we were scrambling.
Well, we should at least make our own
Yep.
clients happy.
And it's great that we promote it again. It's always good for employees to know that there's opportunities.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Motion carried.
Congratulations.
We're getting there, people.
Lots of time.
Okay, 11.2, corporate strategic management, land acknowledgement. They have some recommendations.
Yes, the EDI committee, Jen is not here to present, so you're stuck with me presenting the report. The EDI advisory committee has come forward with 2 options for a land acknowledgement for council's consideration and use. The recommendation is to adopt one of these 2 longer land acknowledgements for special events, and then there's a shorter version also provided to be read at the start of municipal council and committee meetings, public meetings, and engagement sessions. And the shorter option is also recommended for inclusion in municipal email signatures. So land acknowledgement number 1 is we would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in the Keswick Lands End District of Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq. This territory is covered by the Treaties of Peace and Friendship of 1729, which did not deal with surrender of lands and resources, but in fact established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. Acknowledging, respecting, and offering gratitude to the Mi'kmaq is the first step in many towards reconciliation. We recognize that we are all treaty people. We have responsibilities to each other in this land and will continue to learn more about how we can deeply engage and move forward with the work of truth, reconciliation, and equity. The second option, the municipality of the District of Chester is located in the Keswick Lands and District of Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed and recognizes that we are all treaty people. We acknowledge the responsibility to deeply engage and move forward with the work of truth, reconciliation, equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility. The email signature, which is the shorter version, is we respectfully acknowledge that I live and work in Mi'kma'ki as a steward of the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are all treaty people. So the development of a land acknowledgement has been on the EDI committee agenda for quite some time, and it was held up due to trying to get some training in advance. But the committee recognizes that that training has taken too long, so they have put these land acknowledgements forward now for council's consideration of adoption. They also have an additional consideration for council, which is the opportunity to strengthen our relationship with our Mi'kmaq friends by inviting an elder to join us for a later ceremonial event, including installing a plaque with our land acknowledgement and hanging photos of past and or current chiefs. An additional suggestion is to participate in a blanket ceremony to further our understanding of the importance of a land acknowledgement.
Okay, so right now today, the most important is that we adopt these twos.
One of the two.
One of the two, and the shorter option.
Yes.
I'd like to speak, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jake.
No,
No, you go ahead.
I have a question around what would constitute special events, which would then trigger the larger, the loan rate. One of the two that we choose. So what would constitute a special event?
I would assume it would be a large municipal gathering of some description, not an individual council.
No, I know the email signature as well as just a regular council and committee of the whole. But if we, not just a municipal event, but what if there was a representative representing the municipality at a community celebration? I guess
that would be a community.
That would be a special event.
Yeah, and in the request for decision, some of the examples would be the community engagement sessions and presentations, public award ceremonies and celebrations, and large external events and gatherings.
Yeah, those are special events. So thank you. Yeah. And it wouldn't necessarily, have to be the warden or deputy. It could be anyone, or staff. I'm just, I think it's important. We've taken the time to get here. I know the committee has taken the time to get here, so I think that's good. And I'll Abdullah wants to speak, so I'll save my vote in terms of my preference, because I know we have to vote on one of the two, so I'll save my vote.
I thought we were allowed to use the short one for every council meeting and the longer ones for specific or larger events.
I think the request is that the longer version be either land acknowledgement number 1 or land acknowledgement number 2, and that would be the longer version. And then the email signature version would be the shorter version.
Oh, okay.
So I think that the request is to adopt either 1 or 2 as our longer version, and then to adopt the shorter version.
I'm missing that.
I would like, I'm leaning towards option or number 2, because it not only speaks to the reconciliation piece, but the accessibility piece as well, and and inclusion and diversity and equity and all of that stuff. Because you can get bogged down trying to name every group. So I think this is concise, to the point, and that's where I'll lean.
On number 2.
Yeah, on number 2. Yes.
I won't repeat it, but I do agree with you.
So is this for every council meeting? This is what I'm trying to understand, because I was a little off fuzzy on when we're making these acknowledgements. I understand public, when we're out doing announcements or whatever, public gatherings, but, it's typical I see in most public meetings now, like our government, we see an acknowledgement. Is that what we're talking about for these
these two?
Yeah, so to clarify that, the recommendation, and it's of course up to council, the recommendation would be land acknowledgement 1 or 2 to be read at bigger events or public consultations, and then the email signature / shorter version be read at the beginning of council meetings and committee meetings, regular meetings.
So, number 2 seems to be the
Yes.
shorter version at every council meeting.
No.
No.
The email signature.
Track.
The email signature.
Emails,
If
of course.
council is agreeing on land acknowledgement number 2 is the chosen one, land acknowledgement number 2 would be the longer version that we would read at special events, larger public gatherings, that kind of stuff. The one that says email signature, which is I or we respectfully acknowledge that I or we live and work in Mi'kma'ki as a steward of the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are all treaty people. That would be the shorter version that we would read at council every week.
That's what I
Okay, so that's what,
I understand.
okay, somebody want to make that motion? Move, second, discussion. All those in favor?
It's a long time coming. Yes.
Yeah.
Since I've been there.
Nice. Took Andre on the committee.
Andre moved forward for a while.
Okay, now, I believe we're going to Karen.
Oh, Gareth is coming.
Okay, Al, I
Oh,
just.
yeah, Gareth is
Oh,
coming.
Gareth, oh yes, we need to get that finished. I forgot to do that.
Totally. That'll be a long time. If we get there.
They extend, Gareth, they extend your leave. Yeah.
Okay, so I think I have some wording here for a policy, which again will add into the marine development zone. And essentially, what I've come up with is within the marine development zone, any tourist accommodation use shall also include a marine commercial or marine industrial use on the lot. And then just as some explanation to that, which policy sometimes has and sometimes doesn't, this will ensure continuation of the historic use of these properties as part of a working waterfront.
Okay, good.
I think that's really neat.
Yeah. So are we prepared to give first notice?
So moved.
Second.
Second that motion by Councilor Welch.
Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Thank you, Gareth.
Okay.
For all the time and effort that you put in.
No, well, thank you all. The one last thing would just be to discuss the date for the public hearing. Because now that we've given the documents first reading, we'll set a date for the public hearing, and following that, we can have the
What works for you?
final
You're the
votes.
one who's going to be doing most of the work.
So, a couple of, I guess, thoughts or questions was, first off, do we want to do this in the morning, or do we want to set this as an evening hearing? Okay, that would have been my general thought, was probably we want to pick an evening.
Whatever.
The earliest, I can submit an ad, to run next week. So the absolute earliest we could do this would be Thursday, July 11th. But there's nothing saying we can't go to the following week or anything like that. That's just in terms of our legislative advertising requirements.
So far, who knows what's going on that day?
So I don't know if there's a day of the week that's preferable.
Thursday, July the 11th, it would be an evening meeting.
In the evening session.
And so that is a council meeting, so you would have, well, you could do it in the public hearing, so, yeah.
Right. Or we could certainly
Or you
look to
could
the
wait
next
until
the next week and
17th.
pick whichever date.
And it's an evening, we don't have to do it on a Thursday.
No, you
No, that's right,
That's
that's
not
right.
good for some.
Yeah, it's just coincidental.
The earliest we can do it is that.
Yeah, the earliest he can do it. So
Yeah.
we'd either go with the 11th or maybe a Wednesday.
The
Following
The
17th? Yep.
Wednesday's not good. You don't care.
16th, yeah, I can.
Tuesday.
Well, there's a BAC meeting in our council chambers that day.
No, well, we not-
No, I think we're
Here,
gonna, yeah.
Well, I imagine we'll do it here because there's not going to be that. Well, I don't know.
I don't be surprised when it's prep.
I would think
I don't-
on an evening meeting like this one, we would probably go to.
Town Hall or the Legion. Yeah, well, between the Legion and Town Hall.
Okay, is the 16th work now?
No, I'm working. I'd rather the 11th or the 17th if they can make that work.
17th? Well, that doesn't work for Floyd, so.
What about the 11th then?
The 11th works for me.
Yeah, just we got council that day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's right, we'll just,
Okay, the 11th.
we can delay the council meeting to later.
So he's picking.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. The time, maybe 6:30 as a start? Is that
Yeah.
is that reasonable? So 6:30 on the 11th? And just so council knows, so we'll run the newspaper ads as we're required. We're also going to do a mail out again, just so everybody knows, because this is the final kick at the can. Yep, so we will prepare
And
that
Pam
all.
will send invitations.
Location?
Tuck Hall or the Legion, whichever we can.
What's a good?
We got it.
So I'll follow up with council to confirm that.
Beautiful.
Great,
July
okay,
11th it is.
all right, great.
Now I am ready for it in general, right?
So just a question for the process going forward. You do an advertisement, you're gonna send out notices.
Yep,
You meet on the 11th.
that's right.
Okay, we're gonna take a 10-minute break because Sarah has a phone call that's necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's up?